There is a podcast about an island in the North Atlantic where people have been looking for an incredible treasure for more than 200 years.
Hello, and welcome back to Could It Be?
An Oak Island podcast.
We are your hosts, Deidre and Dustin White.
Hey. How you doing?
You know, I'm fantiferific, if you will.
I'm really good, too. This is a very special episode.
Yes.
We have a very special guest that we are excited to bring to our listeners today.
Yes.
And who is it?
Drum roll,
please. All right, well, we have Mr. Laird Niven on the line. How's it going, Laird?
Just great. How are you guys?
We are wonderful. So pleased to talk to you. Yeah, it's actually an honor. So thank you so much. All right. So, we got some questions for you, if you don't mind answering some and just chatting us about Oak Island and archaeology, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. So, Laird, first question we have is, growing up, did you ever think that you'd be a TV star with millions of people hanging on to your every word?
It was the farthest thing from my mind. I kind of balk at the word star, but anyway.
No, people love you, man.
Yeah.
Like you're a big hit on the show. You know, you're one of the fan favorites. Archaeology leading into television, you know, that's not a normal path unless Indiana Jones or whatever, right? What inspired you to get into archaeology as a youngster, and then kind of how did that lead to Oak Island?
I wasn't actually that young. I was 22, 23, just got married. I had a degree in anthropology and decided to do some upgrading. Went to a lecture at St. Mary's University, which we all know.
Yes.
It was an archaeologist from St. Mary's, and he described what he was doing, and it was just like a light was turned on. And I went, that's what I want to do. And the next year I got into his courses, and I wheedled my way into his inner circle and started working with him. And that's how I got into archaeology.
Nice.
Wow, that was the aha moment, if you will.
It really was.
That's really cool. That one moment pushed down a domino that, you know, continued to play out your career and ultimately end up on the biggest cable TV show of all times. Or, you know, so it's a pretty
unique path.
Pretty unique path. Pretty awesome, though. All right. So, hey, are you recognized everywhere you go?
You get a lot more people that recognize you and don't say anything.
Aha.
Right? Because you'll see people kind of turn their heads and they know you from somewhere. Yeah, there are people that come up and they'll say, oh, you're Laird Niven.
Do you ever just say, no, I'm not?
No, I haven't done that yet. But they will say, I know you from somewhere. So you kind of have to lead them on.
So how or when did you first learn about Oak Island and the mystery? Like, was that something around you for a long time, or?
So it was around in the background until, Dan Blankenship took over. He's really the person that in the 70s that got it into the newspaper. Mm-hmm. I wasn't super into it. You know, I was still relatively young.
Uh-huh.
So it was really Dan Blankenship that I first remember, reading in the newspaper. And then I read about the same time I did work for Fred Nolan and Dan Blankenship. I read about these crazy guys from Michigan who were going to take over Oak Island.
So you did some stuff there before Marty and Rick even showed up, huh?
It turns out it was about the same time. Yeah. Yeah. So like 11 odd years ago.
So you kind of just been hanging around ever since?
Yeah, I think that's how I got involved. I think my name came up because of that. And I just get a call from Jason Shook from production asking if I'd be interested to work with him.
You mentioned that you weren't really interested in it before, which it's kind of interesting to me because around the world, a lot of us are really intrigued by it. And being so close to the island, was there a reason you kind of weren't?
It wasn't, it was more of Dan was more of a straightforward kind of guy. Mm-hmm. He was kind of hyping the pirate treasure, although they did have, they had the museum and things there. Mm-hmm. So it just wasn't part of my life at that time, oddly enough.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. All right. So right now on the show, you're one of the most critical members of the team. They need you and your credentials to continue work sometimes in some of the areas. Do you feel pressure with that kind of responsibility?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of pressure because, especially so this time of year, I have to finish reports. I'm the only one who work under permit.
Okay.
And I have to submit reports to the province for each permit that I take out. So that's 4 last year. And if they don't accept the permits, they could reject my next application to get a permit.
Oh.
And if I can't work, it kind of screws things up.
How long does it take for you to get permits?
I hear it's a long time.
No, it's only about 2 weeks, 2 working weeks. So 10 days, more or less.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Wow.
That's surprising.
The people at Oak Island Tours have built up a really great relationship with the province.
Mm-hmm.
So they're they kind of fast track things for us, which is nice.
That is nice. Sometimes it's about who you know.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. That's super cool. We can tell that when you get excited, but you're really good at holding that in. Mm-hmm. What finds or discoveries got you excited this past year?
Yeah, it's funny. I get into a lot of trouble because people actually accuse me of not knowing anything. I won't immediately come out with what something is or what a date is because I have to think about these things.
Yeah.
This year, what got me most excited was obviously the Ball Foundation, the Ball site, working in there. That was really cool. And then what was coming out, Ian Spooner's conclusions in the swamp, because Ian came in as a skeptic and figured he would just go in, get his results, and leave. And I can tell you, he's still working in the swamp as we speak.
Wow.
It's the conclusion, the data that's coming out of the swamp, I think is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's impressive stuff. We saw on the season finale that Steve Guptill, your surveyor, has said that they had done some more work drilling or digging down in the swamp, and they figured that it was nearly rectangle shape at like 80 by 170 feet. Is that right?
For the paved area.
For the paved area. Yeah, so that's like super interesting. Like what? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, kind of knowing that now that Dr. Spooner is a skeptic and he hasn't left yet. You haven't left yet, and knowing. So if I were to ask you if you were a Rick or a Marty, I'm willing to guess you're a Marty.
Yeah, definitely a Marty or an Alex.
Okay.
Okay.
More of a skeptic until Smith's Cove.
Okay. So what was it at Smith's Cove that was your defining moment?
Uncovering the U-shaped structure and realizing how massive it was and what an undertaking it was, which obviously leads to the question, why is it there?
Exactly.
And then the slipway as well. Slipway kind of truncates the U-shaped structure, so they're related. And then just seeing the dendro dates from the two of them was kind of mind-blowing.
I would agree.
I mean, 1760s, that's pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah. And so what do you think? We know we had the Roman numerals carved into the U-shaped structure.
Yes.
And we see wood come out of said money pit area with Roman numerals. And it's a Markapalooza per Terry.
It's a Markapalooza. They're everywhere.
Do you think that's kind of a definitive link between the two structures?
I'd hate to rain on Terry's parade, but I'm not convinced that they're Roman numerals.
Really?
I was there when they found them. They're not the same as Smith's Cove.
Really?
Yeah, okay. Well, they look like they're, deliberate little marks, but I mean, hey, you're there, not us. So.
They're a little too close to the edge, and normally they'd be in the middle of the timber.
Okay. Look at that, a little extra there.
Yeah, that's cool.
As far as the Roman numerals on the U-shaped structure, I'm dying to know, in your opinion, are we looking at a boat slip? You get spot number 1, or as we like to call it, the Lincoln log theory of, you number your logs and say 1 goes here, 2 goes here. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
It's the Lincoln log theory.
Yeah!
We like that.
Oh, bingo!
That was we have references of when the Loyalists came up in the 1780s to Nova Scotia from New York and Boston. They brought prefabricated timber frame houses. and they were marked like that so they would go back together easily because each notch is custom, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
The early prefab houses. I'm in real estate. That fascinates me.
I don't know. It's kind of like a prefab cofferdam or prefab, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Because we don't know.
We've been arguing the Lincoln log theory for a while, so.
For sure.
Yeah. No, it was a common building technique back then.
That's great. That's cool. Prior seasons of The Curse of Oak Island, what do you think is like for the show? I'm not before Rick and Marty kind of came to the island, but since the show started, what do you think are the biggest finds prior to this year? We had the coin in the swamp. We had Drayton's Cross, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the biggest find?
Well, kind of sets archaeologists apart and kind of makes us sticks in the mud is what we call context.
Mm-hmm.
So finding a coin in a swamp with no idea how it got there.
Mm-hmm.
And the cross is much the same.
Yeah.
Yes, could be old, but someone could have kept it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying to each other too. Like, it's great that it was found. It's an amazing find, but if it's an heirloom, somebody gets off a boat and drops it, in the sand and it gets covered up for 200 years, even if it's from the 1300s, if it was dropped there in the 1800s, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's a big deal, but it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was a very similar one found in New Brunswick, in an archaeological context, 17th century. And I believe that the Oak Island Tours and province of New Brunswick are having the two looked at together.
That's great. That's really cool. Yeah, I think I saw a picture of that on a Facebook group recently, this lead cross that was found in New Brunswick. So pretty neat.
Yeah.
What on the flip side of that, can I ask, what do you think is the most overhyped find?
I'd probably say I'd say anything they have pictures of, but they don't actually have.
Yep.
Like the HO stone?
The 90-foot stone, Zena Halpern's map, things like that, because I can't use that as evidence.
Sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, that's why you get someone like who we call the Swamp Doctor, Ian Spooner.
Exactly.
You get him to come in there and date those little twigs between the rocks. I mean, they couldn't get there by themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, exactly. And kind of that, I'm hoping that's a focus whenever the season restarts.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Hopefully sooner than later. But
the next question I have on my list is Lot 21 versus Lot 25. McGinnis versus Ball. Which lot do you prefer? And I know you said Ball earlier. You really enjoy working there, but I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff going on in both places, right?
Yeah. McGinnis, we have lots of photographs of the house. We have aerial photographs, so we can learn a lot from that property. But my background is kind of Black Loyalist archaeology. And Samuel Ball spent 2 years in the place that I grew up. So yeah, it's Samuel Ball.
That hits home. That's
absolutely.
Cool.
I'm totally, I'm rooting for Samuel Ball. I'm not going to lie. I really hope he got a big chunk of treasure. I hope he left some behind. Don't get me wrong, but I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
I hope you can find proof that he had some kind of treasure, because it would be a real bummer if he did and then we never ever could figure it out.
It's a tough one.
I believe it.
So are we going to be revisiting so last year Dustin had to hear me complain about not going back to where you originally found the pottery and such over on Lot 25.
Yeah.
And I was like, when are we going back there? When are we going back there? Or why didn't we go back there sooner? Were we waiting on permits or?
For 25?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it just didn't come up again.
Oh, I needed closure on what was going on there.
It's not forgotten. It's like literally a stone's throw away from Samuel Ball Foundation, right?
Okay.
So it's lot 20. It's lot 24, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just had to listen to her all last year. We would. I think it was one of the earlier episodes of the show from season 6, and you were doing some work in the Ball Foundation. Then she's like, well, when are they going back? When are they going back? I'm like, they'll get around to it. Don't worry about it. They haven't forgot about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's intent to do archaeology even if the show doesn't continue, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think so.
Oh yeah, yeah. The show itself is just, as a phenomenon, is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I had heard about Oak Island when I was a child, and I had read about the mystery in some, I don't know, just kiddie books. I don't remember exactly which one, but it's just amazing that I had interest in it as a child myself. I looked into it as a young adult, and then as an adult, now it's like this biggest TV show. It's just, It's kind of crazy. And this is a little bit of land in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, it resonates with so many people. It really does.
Yeah, well, the treasure hunt is fascinating and exciting, but the people, that's what gets everybody to come back. The people love you guys. They love you. They love Terry. They love Rick. They love Jack Begley. You know, you guys are all like, I don't know, what are they?
They're a team. They're the fellowship.
You guys are the fellowship, and people just love the camaraderie.
And it's too bad because even what they show is only the tip of the iceberg of what gets done, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we saw you got after the season wrapped. I think in November, we saw a picture with I think you, Terry Matheson, Steve Guptill, Dave Blankenship, all with like these sweet jackets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was December 27th.
Okay, yeah.
Wow, you pulled that right out of your head real quick.
He's an archaeologist. He's all about dates.
He knows the things.
Yeah, we got a call and saying that. Rick wanted to get everybody presents and that they were at the interpretive center. So if we wanted to come down and see them. I knew Rick was looking at different things. Wasn't really sure what it was. And that's what we saw those jackets at that time. So
they're pretty legit. You're an official treasure hunter if you have a jacket that says so.
Yeah, it's really it's difficult for an archaeologist to wear a jacket that says treasure hunter.
So you're telling me you haven't worked on any other treasure hunts then?
Well,
we're not supposed to hunt for treasure.
Gotcha.
That's right.
Well, that's a bummer for me personally.
It's a touchy subject in the archaeology community, being involved in Oak Island. So.
Yeah, that's personally, that's kind of a bummer because I was going to ask you, since we're friends now, I was going to say, hey, Laird, we're treasure hunters, Deidre and I. We go and we've hunted for treasure all over the country in the United States. And we were featured on a TV show a couple months ago, digging for buried treasure as well. But one place that we want to dig is where they had the first flight in North Carolina. That's right. And we filled out an application to get a permit to dig. And we got immediately rejected because the first thing on the list is you have to have a degree in archaeology or anthropology, and so we didn't fulfill that requirement, so they threw us out. Yeah. So we were hoping, we're like, hey, Laird, you're gonna come help us, right?
I know, like a 1 foot by 1 foot spot, we can find some treasure.
Yeah, no, he's not a treasure. Okay.
Let me dig in North Carolina, I don't think.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
All right. So, hey, Nova Scotia itself is very rich with history from the native peoples, European settlements, pirates, etc. So, what is your favorite to focus on in your line of work? I mean, or do you focus? You just kind of go to a place and then you start digging and whatever's there is there, right?
Well, so the majority of my career is doing what they call cultural resource management. So I was a contractor. If they had to put in a highway or a bridge or a building, they'd call the archaeologists in and make sure that nothing of value was destroyed, right? There wasn't a lot of focus with that because you just took whatever job it was for whatever era it was. But I was lucky in that I could focus early on the Black Loyalists.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But I also did a lot of work in a place we called DeBert, which unfortunately was part of the mass shooting that we had last week. But it's the home of the oldest sites in Nova Scotia. So I've worked there, and those sites are about 12,000 years old, which is really, really cool.
12,000 years old.
Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah, we're really sorry for your community, by the way. A couple episodes ago on our podcast, we expressed our condolences. It's that's heavy stuff to go with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, but yeah, 12,000-year-old sites. That's got to be pretty exciting to, work through. So do you find a lot of like native artifacts, like the Micmac peoples and whatnot?
So this is kind of almost pre-Mi'kmaq. These are the people who were literally following the glaciers. As the glaciers receded, they were coming in here. And then there was a point at which the glaciers came back and kind of drove them away. And then the Mi'kmaq came in. But yeah, it's a fascinating time period.
I totally believe it.
Okay, I wanted to ask, as far as the theories that are out there go, there's a lot of them. Is there one you particularly favor, lean towards? What does your gut say? Come on.
I don't do a lot of theories.
I know, but if you
so you get people like Chip Reed and James McQuiston, who are focusing on the 17th century, the 18th century in there. I have a lot of time for that.
Okay.
Because we have evidence that points to those time periods. Templar, not so much. Roman, not at all.
Yeah.
But Norse I can live with. We know the Norse were probably here. Don't have any evidence of it. But that's a theory. That's a theory that's plausible. Yeah. But my gut right now is in the 17th century.
Hey, so we're imagining you're bombarded with questions wherever you go. Is there anything that you're surprised you haven't been asked? Like something that might be, you think, why don't people ask about that?
Actually, no. People are pretty thorough in what they ask. I mean, to a fault, right?
Yeah. So then are there any you're surprised you've been asked?
Not surprised I've been asked. One of the things I always wanted to clear up is that I always get accused of working for the government. So the big difference between Americans and Canadians is Americans seem to have a real distrust of government.
Okay, yeah.
And so they kind of spit that out, that I work for the government, assuming I'm controlled by the government, but I actually don't. I wish I did.
Yep. So could put that rumor to rest, huh?
Yeah. Don't work for the Canadian government. Canadian government doesn't even know any work's going on in Oak Island.
Right.
Okay. Besides the permit department.
Yeah, right.
No, that's only the province.
Oh.
Private land. So the federal government has no idea what's going on.
Well, you pull up the Ark of the Covenant or something,
They might know.
They're gonna start peeking over your shoulder.
I always think of how pissed my wife would be if I had to take the Ark of the Covenant home and keep it in the basement for 2 weeks.
I don't open that thing. I've seen the movies. Well, that's actually funny that we mentioned that because we just started a new line of our Oak Island trading cards featuring
Oak Island Heroes.
Yeah, the Oak Island Heroes, and we've made you guys into superheroes. And how you got your powers is there's actually like a story and a card that it's the Money Pit card, and in the story you guys have retrieved the Ark of the Covenant. You open it up, it knocks everybody down, and you get up and you're suddenly superheroes.
No pressure, but
yeah, we actually haven't made your card yet. What superpower do you want?
Oh God! Well, I need to see into the past, right?
See into the past.
Oh, that's good. I like
time
that.
Yeah.
Travel.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
There's
consider
his
it
traveling power. Done. Okay, but for that to happen, you have to wear a hat less to make my job easier.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And she has a tough time getting your hat out of the
Have
image.
to Photoshop in.
Yeah, she has to Photoshop air onto you. I don't know. One of the things we were going to ask you is about your hats. Like, you wear a soccer hat, right?
United, right?
No, Newcastle.
Newcastle. See, I'm just guessing here. I'm an MLS person.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. This hat, the one I wore the first in season 4, belonged to my father-in-law, who had died, and he was born in Newcastle, and so I just kind of wore it for him right? And then it's kind of snowballed into this. I get a lot of people from Newcastle just thrilled that I'm wearing the hat. So
that's awesome.
That's neat.
The one I wore last year was sent from Newcastle.
Yeah, you're kind of known for it now.
Yeah, I know. It's difficult. When I go out for a walk, I go, I should wear the hat. Otherwise...
They may not recognize you if you take the hat off.
I actually experimented with that, and someone did, so...
That's funny stuff. Do you guys pull any pranks on each other on the island?
That's a good question. So Gary is the ultimate joker, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's constantly joking, but there aren't a lot of physical pranks. I know. Not that I can think of. I know the crew gives me a hard time about Indiana Jones constantly. Right?
Sure,
of course.
Sure.
How many Nazis have you killed today?
That's pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah. For the most part, it's actually quite tame. Not a lot of practical jokes.
That's too bad, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of fun between everybody. There's a lot of ribbing and a lot of teasing and things like that. But
Deidre had thought up the best practical joke that you can do, like on April Fool's Day. Maybe you could steal it from her and go and do it on the island next year.
Oh yeah, with the hammer grab, so that you stick it down the caisson, but you need a giant Costco-sized bear in it because it's like a claw.
yes,
and you get everybody all excited to come out, and you have this
bear.
Covered bear. It would be wonderful. We hear Scott put a skeleton in it 1 year.
Yeah, was that 2 years ago?
I don't know. He said 1 year on April Fool's. He
Really? That's a real thing?
Yeah, that's what he said.
I thought that was a joke.
I know they were. I wasn't part of that. I know they were picking pieces of it up.
That's pretty funny, though.
It'd be pretty bad if that showed up on the wash table.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, so what are kind of some of your favorite moments with the Fellowship?
Favorite moments? Oh, that's a tough one. Jeez.
It's too many, right?
We ask the hard questions around here.
I mean, it's really difficult to describe. I mean, you call it a fellowship, and that's really what it is, right? So 2 years ago, I was only there part-time.
Yeah.
Last year, I was there full-time. I really enjoyed every minute. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of long hours and things like that. But looking back, I just want to go back and I want to have everybody there. The crew, the whole camera crew, and all those guys, and everyone else. I just really miss them all. Favorite moments. It's kind of everything rolled into one. I love. I keep. I remember I said I'm not a treasure hunter, but I'm sitting there forever as I'm digging, thinking, okay, if I just can get one gold coin next day. So, I mean, this season, finding what we found at the Ball Foundation was probably a highlight. We were pretty skeptical. There were problems with the GPR. And what you didn't see when Jack was digging was that Billy Gerhart was meters away with his backhoe ready to dig it up.
I have no doubt. Oh, man. Well, when you ask Jack if he wants a trowel, he's like digging with his hands, and you're concerned for him. You want maybe a tool for that?
You know what? If I was to pick the one person on the island who would be the best archaeologist, it would be Jack.
Really? Why is that?
He excavated some other areas before. And he was very meticulous, very aware, and believe it or not, took his time with the trowel and was really, really impressive.
Oh.
Wow.
Jack Attack.
He'll
sit there for 2 hours and do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, Deidre jokes often that there's these gardening gloves that are on that you get on Amazon, and they have these
built-in claws,
and she's like, she wants to get some of those and send them to Jack because they're like the tool of choice for him. But no, if he can use a trowel, that's awesome.
Yeah, he has. We haven't had Gary use one yet, but
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he wants everybody else to do the digging for him, so
That's right.
he's comfortable with just he finds the stuff though. All right, well that's cool. So, all right, so now that you're just a big giant TV star, what's next for you? We envision a spin-off series with you leading a team with Gary, Billy, Carmen Legg, and you guys are all out there, finding stuff and rendering all sorts of opinions. What do you think about that?
It's going to be really difficult to top Oak Island, I'll tell you. I'm not envisioning a spin-off for me. For some reason. Gary, maybe.
Yeah, people really want a Gary Drayton show, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Carmen Legg, he's been a fun part of this season, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's just a wealth of knowledge. Everybody keeps saying. So it's fun that you guys go or at least members of the team go to his blacksmithing shop to get things checked out. Have you ever gone there?
Not for the program.
Yeah.
I've been there before. I may drive by it, going to Acadia and things like that. But no, I haven't. He's actually been to the island, as you saw in at least one of the war rooms.
Yeah, we saw him on the island once. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's cool. He's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Just like everybody else, right?
Everybody else isn't bad.
Except for that Scott Barlow guy.
Got to watch out for him.
That's good.
Yeah. We always kind of say he seems like the one that's going to play the practical jokes on everybody. So
right, because he's kind of quiet and yeah.
It's sneaky. Well, with the season finale, I'm very curious to ask you what your thoughts are on this toonie, Marty's toonie, if you will, and what that means for this next year.
Yeah, I didn't actually get a chance to see the season finale.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we saw a toonie.
Right. And my understanding is that he put it in, was it 2 years ago?
Correct.
Yeah, into the small H8, the micro case on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it drifted.
Yeah.
Yep, 10 feet.
Yeah, which is pretty good. So they used a tool, I'm going to forget what it's called, and they were able to actually track the drift of all the holes this year.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so 10 feet was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Like, I mean, to me, when I think about the money pit, I'm not thinking about like the water and any kind of current underground. I'm just thinking like it's all mud, basically. Mm-hmm. In my brain, mud and rock. So it really didn't occur to me that things would be moving so much or so fluid down there. So that was kind of a shock.
No, and I that was my initial impression as well, that those things just went straight down.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there was one occasion I'm going to forget because I'm not a money pit person. I stay away from that if I can. But there was one point where they thought they hit the north wall of something. And when Steve went back and plotted it, they actually hit the south wall.
Oh, interesting.
It drifts that much. But it's all plotted now, which is pretty cool.
I know Steve Guptill's been a really great addition, I think. Everything you got everything so pinpointed on all those maps they show on the show. It's great.
Yeah, he's a great addition, but we need like 3 of them because he was supposed to work with me at the Ball Foundation, but he kept getting called away. So
walks around with his big stick, getting too busy to mark stuff. Man,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We should have given Steve Guptill the power to replicate himself.
Seriously,
on his superhero card, huh?
That's true.
Well, it's just funny that you didn't have a dedicated survey guy until I guess last season.
Yeah.
Right. And then until like season 6, he showed up at the end of the year. But now you rely on him so much, everybody wants him.
Mm-hmm.
He's the keeper of the data, right? He's not going anywhere.
That's cool.
I think he needs an apprentice to like follow him around and mark things.
Might slow him down though.
Yeah, that's true.
So one of the fan favorites is Billy Gerhardt.
Oh yes.
Yep.
Yep. He's I don't know. He's just worked his way into everybody's hearts.
And there, I'll tell you, the Gerhart crew is there when I get there. So at 7:30 in the morning, and when I leave at 6 or 7, they're still working.
Confirmed. We knew it. We'd always say, "Yeah, we bet you Billy's the first one there and he's the last one to leave." Confirmed.
Yep. and he's there before filming, and he's there well after filming as well.
That's fun. That's cool.
We figured he would be the one to peg for always a half an hour early to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Owns
cool.
the keys to the causeway, you know.
Yeah, that guy.
And it's really funny. My mother's maiden name is Gerhart.
Oh,
You guys related?
No, we're not. His family was in Nova Scotia in the 1750s. So.
Oh, wow. Long time ago.
wow.
Crazy. That's cool. What else we got?
All right, you're not a money pit guy, but it looked like in the finale, I know you haven't seen it yet, that potentially next seasons are going to be very money pit heavy.
Well, actually, the way I interpreted it, because they're talking about the big dig, right?
Correct.
And the way that I'm interpreted it is like, hey, they're going to probably put a lot of resources there, but I mean, a TV show would kind of be a little bit boring if all they did was focus on one big pit in the money pit. So, I mean, they're going to have Laird doing a lot of stuff over on the Ball Foundation or Smith's Cove, or who knows, maybe they'll go up to the Mega Bin again, right?
Yeah.
Who the heck knows?
I'll be the diversion. Yeah.
Yeah, while they're scooping out a whole lot of earth.
Well, it's funny. My biggest problem with the money pit is they're looking for a horizontal shaft by digging horizontal tests, right? And that's kind of anti-archaeological. No. It's the technology that they know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if it were your choice, how would you do it?
I would take the topsoil off in big layers and find the tops of the shaft. You don't need to find the bottoms of the shafts. You just need to find the tops of the shafts, right?
Yeah.
And what's at the bottom of them?
Well, what's underneath?
You can do that later.
Yes,
On
naturally.
the money pit by identifying different shafts.
Yeah.
It's better to take the overburden off and figure it out from there.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, they didn't ask me that.
Well, you know what? I think there might be a chance, because what's happening in the world right now with everybody being like on lockdown, and Rick and Marty, they can't come to Nova Scotia right now, right? So I think they might need to just kind of do a teleconference.
Yeah.
Well, they need to just teleconference in you, Scott Barlow, Steve Guptill, Billy, everybody that lives in the area. Just you guys go do the work, and you could be like, "Hey, Marty, that didn't work out," so we started doing the excavating the money pit my way.
Well, true. I mean, I think the transition is probably going to start something like that. I'm not sure we're going to get free reign to go after the money, but
I can always cross my fingers for you.
Right. So, I mean, the cofferdam came out of Smith's Cove. Are we done there for a while?
I think that. So, an interesting anecdote. Apparently, when they put the cofferdam in originally, so last year, apparently Dan Blankenship came out and looked at it and said, "Oh, that's neat, but you should have put it 50 feet out further." Which is what they did this year, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
After that 50 feet, it drops off really, really suddenly.
Okay.
So everything that was in Smith's Cove has been excavated.
Okay.
The near shore, that's all been excavated.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. When they put in the bump out this year, I didn't know what to expect, and I definitely wasn't. It's something, what we dubbed it was Mike's box.
Right.
Because Mike Jardine was the first one to go out there and notice, hey, what is that out there? Like, is there any idea? Was that kind of just how it looked like a couple of layers, kind of looked like what they described the original money pit to look like, where there was a platform of logs, and then maybe an area to put a ladder down to the next platform of logs or whatever. Is there anything behind that or to that, or is that was it? Who knows what it was?
We actually did notice it when they first put the cofferdam in, right? So 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because they actually hit it with part of the cofferdam.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, okay.
So it's not Mike's box. Okay.
No.
Take it away.
It's a double box. They're two.
Yes.
But no, they're more like searcher shafts.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They were notched logs made into boxes.
So like one of the other crazy things we saw at Smith's Cove, not this past season, but the season before, was a concrete wall. And then they never came back to it. But I think they mentioned it once this year, but I mean, come on, that's not super old. So
no, that we're quite certain, because it had PVC pipes going through it, right?
Oh, okay.
We're pretty sure it's related to Hedden's wharf there in the 1930s.
Gotcha.
Dan Blankenship actually had uncovered it in 1970. He doesn't mention it, but if you look at the photographs of the area, you can clearly see that he did.
Gotcha.
He obviously didn't see it as anything significant, so it didn't register.
Okay. Who do you think did like the most searcher work, like modern, like Hedden or Blankenship, or like who did the most work out there in Smith's Cove? Because you said the wall is likely Hedden, the concrete wall. I mean, did he just have like a huge, he had a wharf and the concrete wall, he had some sort of plan there?
Oh, that was just Smith's Cove is where they brought all their equipment into.
Oh, okay, that's what that was
all
for.
Supplies you needed, yeah.
Sure.
So Dan Blankenship was the one who definitely did all of the work in Smith's Cove.
Okay.
Because when we uncovered the U-shaped structure for the second time, it was basically exactly like Dan found it, right? Yeah, it was amazing.
And it's still there.
Still there, more or less, yeah.
Maybe a little less from that testing.
Well, I got some samples, right? Yeah, that's pretty neat stuff. Like, the dates coming off that. So dendrochronology is super reliable, right?
It is. It depends on the database you have to draw from.
Mm-hmm.
But we have some good dates in Nova Scotia for that time period.
That's cool. It's just funny, like a year ago, dendrochronology was not in my vocabulary. It's fun to think about the things that we learn from this show.
No, it's true. And that's kind of how I feel about, yes, some Nova Scotia archaeologists aren't happy that I'm on the show. But then again, we have Nova Scotia archaeology getting exposed to 3 million people every week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to the States and you say you're from Nova Scotia, the first thing they ask you the first thing they say is Oak Island.
Right.
Right?
And I guess they're just talking about you.
Oh, of course.
Pretty much.
That's fun. Yeah.
What about, I wanted to go into a little bit more about the swamp and everything that's going on there. Because we had the giant, what we called at the beginning of the year, the ship-shaped structure. And we cored it. We didn't get anything out. Any more swamp opinions?
It's not a ship.
I concur.
Do you think that the swamp was 2 islands? Like, I know Tony Sampson's really on that, of that opinion.
No, I think Ian Spooner has concluded that around the paved area was at one point land.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were connected a long time ago.
Okay, so it might have just been like a deeper inlet there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Before Swamp Road.
That's really neat. Yeah, I'm really happy with all the work done on the swamp this year because we started our podcast in season 6, and on the first episode we had said, or Marty had brought up the big 3. He wanted to really get to the bottom of the Money Pit, Smith's Cove, and the swamp, and then nothing was done in the swamp that season. And so it's really fun to see you guys really dig into it this year.
Yeah, but it's funny because Ian Spooner was there just to take a few core samples and look at the organics within the core sample to determine how the swamp was formed. Mm-hmm. And he never left, and then he found the paved area and then the eye of the swamp where it looks like they were scooping out clay.
Yeah, well, crazy stuff. I'm excited to see what you guys keep doing on the island, but I mean, who knows what's going to happen, like we said, with getting back up there. But
well, I know production's in a hurry to get back, but
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, we were supposed to be up there mid-May, but unfortunately, for obvious reasons, that got canceled.
Yeah, we had a tour planned, or we got one of the tour tickets, right, for the pair of us to go on the Oak Island tour with the 50 people, I think. And we're really sad that we're not going to be able to do it, but hey.
Couldn't have planned this.
That's life.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hopefully June, July, fingers crossed, something will happen.
Yeah, we're crossing our fingers too. I mean, if more tickets even go on sale later in the year, maybe we'll try to snag them and come toward the end of the year because we want to go so bad.
Yep.
And it's a great tour. People love it.
Well, just Nova Scotia, it's a beautiful place. And there's we're treasure hunters, right? So this is treasure that's been on Mount Desert Island in Maine. And we think we'd hit that as well while we're in the
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, we live in Washington State, way far away, so it's not easy to get out there. But if we're going to go to Oak Island, we might as well hit a couple treasures on the way.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I promise we're respectful treasure hunters. We don't destroy areas.
Yeah, right. Totally. So just one more thing that came into my mind just now. There was a lot of work done this season in the Uplands area. That was like a new area to viewers. We hadn't heard much about that area kind of between Smith's Cove and the Money Pit, looking down at depth, trying to find the flood tunnel system, right?
Yeah.
They found some like dynamite. They found, they found a lot of neat things. You have any opinion about that's kind of the things they found in that area?
One of the running jokes was at Jack that they found Shaft 5 again. I think he found Shaft 5 3 times in that dig.
He's going 5 for 5. Wow.
I only got parachuted in to look at certain things at that in that area. I think everything they found was Searcher. That was just below the cave-in pit, right? So it was becoming an area I really didn't want to go to look at because it was pretty dangerous.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some big holes there. They brought in that really big scoop, the big, the giant excavator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like, when I think about you on Oak Island, I think, man, it must be a rough job because these guys, how much has already been done on Oak Island in the past, 200 years, it's all a hodgepodge of whatever in the Money Pit. So it makes me feel really happy for you that you have such things that you can focus on, like the Ball Foundation, like McGinnis Foundation, like some of the stuff that's been untouched in the swamp. There's been a lot of stuff in Smith's Cove, but it sounds like you have fun there too. So
yeah, it's funny. One of the thing that wasn't shown about the Shatner episode was that he just laid into me. He said, "I've seen archaeological sites before, and I can't believe you let these guys do this stuff," and blah blah. But he didn't come out to look at the Ball Foundation where we were working at the time. So.
With the test pits.
Yeah, it's just funny. Like, for us, we realized that the Money Pit's just been dug to death over the past 200 years. I mean, what's there left to preserve, right? It's all just a hodgepodge of just everything.
Yeah, it's not my favorite area.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I can see why. It would be a real challenge.
Yeah, well, like we were saying earlier, Deidre was all about you going back to the Ball Foundation. We're happy that that's your happy place and that you get to do some stuff there.
It was my happy, and the crew loved it because the crew had come from the chaos of the Money Pit to the Ball Foundation. They'd just go, oh, it was quiet, and it was peaceful, and things didn't happen frenetically, It was nice.
I imagine it's a very different feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, production was really good at letting me do my thing without being filmed because it's a slow process, right?
Yeah.
And check in every once in a while, but it's not a lot of exciting things go on in archaeology necessarily.
Well, you got a tag team partner out there the last few episodes of Kelly Barassa, right? Yeah,
no, Kelly was great. Kelly had done archaeology before, so you could leave him to his own devices and not have to worry, which is good because, I'd work for an hour or so and then I'd get called to the Money Pit or the swamp or somewhere and I'd be gone for the rest of the day. So it was important to have someone like that.
Do you think he'll be around next season?
I actually don't know. I don't know what they have planned for next season.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yep.
It's always good to have a buddy. Come on, that's like kind of some tedious work, right? And so it's good to have somebody to be
well,
there with,
apparently
right?
Jack is good
Jack is
at
good.
it. Is there anybody else that might have some archaeological chops that you would bring into your inner circle there?
Charles tried.
He tried?
But I don't think he was patient enough.
Ah.
Alex just claimed he wouldn't be patient enough to do it, which I'm not 100% sure about that. Gary didn't volunteer.
Oh, that's not going to be his jam, I don't think.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. The first couple times you showed up, what was that, season 4, season 5?
4.
Yeah, and then Gary would be doing his thing, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, let's bring Laird." And he's like,
let's
"Oh,
call
come
Laird."
on!"
He roll his eyes.
Someone asked me the question about whether we, get introduced beforehand and all this stuff, and with Gary, I just met him in the parking lot, with Rick and Marty, and we went off to lot 24, and I was put there by the province to monitor what he was doing and record everything that he dug up, and then stop them when I felt things were being compromised. And I didn't realize at the time that Gary was not happy at all.
Wasn't he? Oh.
There, and then I was watching what he was doing. He'd had a hard time from Archaeologist before.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, he came up to me and said, "You know what? You're the coolest archaeologist I've ever met. Let him do his thing," right?
Wow. Yeah, you could see when he was a little not so thrilled for an all stop.
Yeah.
Well, and
he just wants to do his thing.
But it's funny now, he'll stop at certain points and say, "You know what? We need to call Laird in."
Good. Yeah, see, team player right there.
Yep. Things have flipped around.
Teamwork makes the dream work. I mean, that's what you got here.
Well, just Laird got into his mind, and he's like, you know what?
His mind and in his heart.
Into his mind, into his heart.
So we know Gary wouldn't be a good archaeologist. It sounds like, it's going to take a while to find another one for you.
Yeah, it might.
I keep seeing calls for Josh Gates to go up to Nova Scotia to work with you guys, but I think he's a little busy with his own projects.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see Robert Clotworthy come up and visit.
Oh man, we love Robert Clotworthy. What do you think he'd be up for it?
I don't know. I would hope so.
He told us because we don't like talk to him or anything. We tweet at him and he tweets back sometimes. But he told us in a tweet once that he has never met, the fellowship, and he'd love to.
Yeah. Oh no, I think that's not right.
They were going to have HistoryCon actually this in April, and it got canceled, of course, unfortunately. And I think he was going to be there, and I know Rick and Marty were going to be there, and so I mean that could have been the beginning of something really special where Robert does the narration from the island.
You could do it live. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Oak Island Live would be neat.
Yeah. That's how we got the name of our podcast, because he's the famous Could It Be guy, and so our podcast is Could It Be, an Oak Island podcast.
Naturally. What if he just followed you around the island and narrated you as you did stuff? That would be quite awkward.
Awkward? I think it'd be awesome. Get live play-by-play. That'd be sweet.
Well, we get that anyway with the producers, right? So.
Right.
That's funny. Yeah. So in our normal podcast, we have we almost end every podcast with something we call the Clotworthy moment. And a Clotworthy moment is one of his dramatic sayings, like axe cut wood, or what else does he say?
He says axe cut wood a lot.
Secret recipes written in code. And then we have two of them that we pit against each other, and we have our listeners vote on the winner. And so the next week we play the winner. We have lots of fun with Robert Clotworthy.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Whenever he says something particularly on the edge, I look at my wife and she just shakes her head.
Yeah. Well, it's in the script. He's got to do what the script says.
No, absolutely.
So do you watch the show when it airs live, or are you you don't want to watch yourself on TV type of person?
No, we watch it taped. We watch it DVR'd. Yeah.
That's cool. I think Rick doesn't watch it, but Marty does. So, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
It's interesting just to see, what they do with what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I know. I was joking at the Ball Foundation once. There's an entrance to the root cellar, and I kind of went, "Wow, there's just enough room here to get a treasure chest down," knowing full well that they could use that because it was taped. And what they did with it was, we were standing with the GPR people, Steve Watson, and I had my back, and they had a graphic, of this of the void that he saw. And in my book, you could hear, "There's enough room for a treasure chest."
Yep.
They actually dubbed me in there.
Do you hate that, or you think it's funny, or whatever?
Oh, I knew what I was doing when I did it at the time, so.
Have some fun.
Yeah.
That's really fun. Yeah, it's a heavily edited show. It's part of life. Thousands of hours to make a 1 hour TV show. So I mean.
Oh, my introduction to Oak Island was coming out in my shorts and sneakers. to look at at the Xena's hatch. That's when I learned that you don't go out there and just talk to them. You go out there and are filmed. So yes, they film absolutely everything. But you know what? Production people, I know people give them a hard time, but they're the hardest working people on the whole island. Yeah. They don't stop.
Good.
It's amazing what production can do. Yeah, they work nonstop.
Well, they have the most successful TV show on cable, so they might as well.
They're doing something right.
Yeah, they gotta keep it up, right? They don't want to be passed by somebody else. They got to keep it interesting.
And they have to work with what's found. So, right?
Absolutely.
So the hatch. Now, are you a Lost fan?
No, I'm not.
Oh, see, now you must go watch Lost because we were asking because the hatch is a big deal in that. In Lost, and it's on an island, the Atlantic.
No, in the Pacific.
In the Pacific, whatever, it moves. So
it does move.
There's a hatch on said island as well. I don't know. It was feeling like a real life Lost moment when you guys went out looking for the hatch, but guess not.
No, Dan Blankenship dug that one. Sorry, Dan Hensky dug that.
Gotcha. It's just that map was just. It seems too good to be true, but it's fun to imagine it being true.
Yeah, it's just it's what everything I submit gets peer reviewed, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I need a real map. You know what I mean? I need to see real stuff.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Right. Makes complete sense. All right, so did we miss anything that you wanted to touch upon?
No, I don't think so. I think I got the I don't work for the Canadian government in there.
That's the main thing, right?
They are private.
Yes. I'm not a spy.
Yeah, right. No, that's Charles. Okay, well, let's see.
That, or rumor has it,
yeah.
if you will.
We tease Charles all the time on our podcast. He's one of our favorite characters on the show.
Cast.
He's one of our favorite cast members. Sorry,
they're
you guys
not
aren't
characters.
My
they're
bad.
not made up people.
He might be.
Well, on our first trading card series, he's called the Keeper of Secrets, and he is actually making sure the treasure doesn't get found. And he was placed on the island by the Knights Templar, where he guards the treasures, and one of them is the Philosopher's Stone, which allows him to be immortal. So that's like each card has a little story on the back. That's part of history.
So apparently he's immortal.
Sorry? I
said apparently he's immortal.
Which is really funny when you see him in the Foodway in Chester buying groceries. But
That's funny. All right. Well, I think that's about it. We just, Laird, thank you so much for giving us any time and this much time. We really appreciate you coming on our podcast and giving our listeners, something to pass the time between now and next, probably November when the series resumes. They're probably going to listen to this 100 times to parse every word. So,
right.
We just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do it.
It's my pleasure. It's been great.
Thank you.
And how cool was that?
Wow.
Yeah, Laird Niven on our podcast. Woohoo!
I actually can't believe that we just spoke to him.
Yeah, well, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Laird. We can't express, what that meant to us. So thank you.
Yes. So if you are new to the podcast, how do they find more of us?
Well, you can go to facebook.com/OakIslandPodcast to follow all of our adventures and
our live shows.
Yeah, we got so much stuff that happens every week. We do a live pregame show before the Curse of Oak Island airs on Tuesday nights. The season's over now, but we have 2 more episodes coming up of our pregame live shows on Tuesdays before the Drilling Down special. So this Tuesday we have the Drilling Down special. Yeah, and then the following week we have a Drilling Down episode about the Founding Fathers.
Yeah,
about that
really
theory.
Cool.
So yeah, that'll be fun. So we'll be here to do pregame live streams for that stuff. And then on Friday nights we have our trivia live streams,
yes,
where we do Oak Island and general trivia questions, and we give out prizes to the winners. So please come and find us, one more time at facebook.com/OakIslandPodcast, and you can participate in our live streams and possibly win some great prizes.
Yes. You can also connect with us on Instagram. We're at Oak Island Podcast, and you can find us on Twitter at Oak Island Pod.
That was awesome.
It was
Loved
awesome.
it.
And guess what?
What?
We've got more good stuff coming.
Shh.
It's a secret.
It's a secret. No, we got good stuff. So subscribe, like our videos and stuff. Share us with any of your friends that may like the Curse of Oak Island, right?
Yep.
And one more place you could contact us. You can send us an email. Yeah, so that's at OakIslandPodcast@gmail.com. You have any questions, comments, send them on over. Oh, we did mention our trading cards in the interview.
Yes.
If you're interested in taking a look at them, you can look at them at our website, OakIslandPodcast.com, or you can support us through Patreon.com/OakIslandPodcast, and our patrons get those trading cards mailed to them each and every month. No additional charge. Just you showing us your support on Patreon. We send those to you as a thank you.
6 new cards every month.
Every single month. And they're a lot of fun. And people love them. And you will too.
You bet. So until next time.
Could it be?
Do you want to trowel?